Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be cutting up a bunch of vegetables. That's really not what this particular video is all about. I can't do that until my knife is sharp. My knife is getting dull. Well, it's not really dull, it's just a little off. And I hate it when it's not razor sharp. So we're going to sharpen this today, and before I sharpen it, I figured I'd go ahead and show you how I sharpen this knife. Maybe it'll help you in your kitchen. So stick around. Sharpening session coming up. So I'm not much for plastic boards. I don't often use this board, but I figured it was a good way to show you. You see how this board slides around? You ever have a board like this, or even a wood board that slides around on your countertop? Then just get some paper towels and just wet them, just damp. They don't have to be sopping wet where they're just, squeeze all the excess water out of them. Then you take this and place it under the board, just in a double layer, under the board like so, and it will keep it from moving. I mean, that's pretty solid. If you need more than one sheet, 2 sheets, and do it, but it solids it up. You can cut on this board now, but we're going to do the same thing because we're going to use a sharpening stone here. This is a water stone from Pride Abrasives. Pride Abrasives is a great company. We have a lot of stones from them and other companies. The type of stone you use is less important than the fact that you actually use a stone. Goodness gracious, it's not that hard to do, not that complicated. Contrary to popular belief online, there's a lot of sharpeners that want you to believe this is a very complex thing to do, and it's just not. It's very easy. People have been doing it since there have been knives, which is pretty much since there have been people. So easy thing to do. This, because it's a water stone, we need to soak this in water first. So give me about 10 minutes to soak this, and we'll be right back.
A few minutes later.
All right, so I soaked this stone just a wee bit. Being a water stone, this is a coarse side. I've got a little water here. When I need a little extra water, I can put some on my fingertips and drip it on here. So we can take the knife, we're going to lay it down here, just on the stone, and we're going to lift it about 15 degrees or so. Now, you're not a machine. You're not going to be exact every time. Don't worry about it. It's going to average out, and you'll end up sharpening your knife. You don't want to lay it down all the way and run it across this way because, well, 2 things. The angle is going to be too low, and it's not going to hold an edge for very long if the angle is too low. And secondly, because you're going to scratch up the side of your knife, which we don't want to do. We don't want to scratch up our nice knife. So you just want to lay it down and then lift it up just about 15 degrees or so. Really easy to do. Nothing complicated about this at all. Let's put a little more water on here. All right, now we're going to take it, lifting it up about 15 degrees, and if you ever wonder what 15 degrees is, all right, that's 90 degrees. Half of that is 45, half of 90 is 45. Remember mathematics, remember math, high school? Half of that is 22 and a half. Come down just a little bit more, and that's your 15 degrees. All right, you're going to start on the heel of the knife, which is right here. And you're going to work yourself this way and this way at the same time. At the same time. So it's just as easy as doing this. Now, notice when I get down towards the curve here, that's where my fingers are. It's behind the curve, so I can use it as a pivot, right? As you get down towards the fingers and you start curving, I start pulling back and I start pulling up to keep the angle the same. If I didn't, as I came across and I pulled down, this bevel would go from here to flatten out here. It wouldn't work. You have to keep the angle the same, which means this hand has to come back and up so that your edge is perpendicular to the stone and the movement. Okay? Come across this way, bring it up. Come across this way, bring it up. just like this. Now, doing the other way, just switch hands. It's just this easy. And you're just gonna come across and come up. You see how it's taking that? You see this right here? This line, I don't know if you can see that. That lines that you're seeing is actual steel. That's steel that's being left on the stone. Just this easy, pulling it this way and this way at the same time. Pull that hand back and lift up just a little bit. Not too much, because then your angle will be too high. And if your angle is too high, then it won't be as sharp. You're trying to look for the sweet spot for that particular type of steel. Now, if you have a powdered steel, you may be able to go down to a lower angle, depending on the powdered steel. Powdered steels, we're just beginning to see them in cutlery. On the culinary side, we've seen them in sporting knives for a long time. We're just beginning to see them in the culinary knives. And well, I tell you, I love a good powdered steel. This particular steel, this is a Wusthof knife. And this is a very typical German steel. A little softer, Rockwell 57 or so, 56. So it sharpens up very quickly and very easily. And it holds a decent enough edge. Notice I'm doing about 2 passes on each side. You can do 1 pass on each side. You can do more on each side. It's really up to you. All right. Well, that feels pretty sharp. Pretty sharp. I'm going to do a few more passes here. I hope you're trying to do it on your knife right now. After a while, you get pretty good at it, and you can move along a little bit faster. Keep in mind, again, you're not a machine. You're not going to be right at 15 degrees. That's all right. But if you're too low, if your angle is too low, like you're too far this way, then it's going to be too sharp. I shouldn't say too sharp, that's not really a real thing, but it's going to be incredibly sharp, but it won't hold an edge for very long because that angle is too low. If you lay your knife down too low, then the angle is too low and your edge won't be as stable. If you bring it up too high, it'll be an incredible long-lasting edge, but it won't be as sharp. So you want to find that sweet spot, and that's going to be, in most modern cutlery, that's going to be right around 15 degrees, right? This slurry that we're creating is exactly what you want to see on a water stone. You want to see that steel on the top. That means it's doing its job. That's a pretty good edge, if I do say so myself. It was pretty dull. I've been using this knife a lot. This is my go-to knife. This is a vegetable knife from Wusthof. It's discontinued. I do think we still have some in stock. It is my favorite knife in my kitchen. I love this knife, but like I said, they've been discontinued. So if you want one, you better get up to bcknife.com and get one pretty quickly here, because we're running out of them and they're not making any more, unfortunately. Does a brilliant design, works really well. These holes in here keep anything from sticking to it. Really good stuff. Now that I've done that, we're going to flip this over, go to the smooth side. Same thing, about 15 degrees. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a much quieter grind, much finer stone. But about 15 degrees is all you need. And this will make the edge a little finer. It will take some of that tooth out of the edge. And most importantly, anytime you sharpen, you create a burr, kind of a hanger-on, kind of like that snot on your finger that you just can't get rid of as you're walking into the mall. Yeah, you know what I mean. That little burr, you want to make that finer so it comes off easier. Now, if you want to take that burr off and you want to test your blade, just fold up a paper towel like this, take it, and it should cut the paper towel very nicely. Now, this isn't cutting real well down here, which means it's probably a little burry, and that burr didn't come off. Now, if you've got an oil stone, instead of using water like I am here, you want to use oil on your stone. When you buy a stone from Bear Claw, we can tell you whether it's an oil stone or a water stone. we'd be happy to help you out. If you're buying it online, goodness sakes, give us a message. You can contact us on Facebook or email us or YouTube, however you want to do it, and we will help you and guide you along the way. You can always give us a call, 432-253-3660. There you go. That's pretty sharp right there. Now what I usually do after this, I'll take and clean up my stone, let it dry, probably outside of this box because I don't like the box to get too wet. All right, so I've gotten a butcher steel here. This butcher steel is not going to remove metal off my knife. It's not going to sharpen my knife. All it's going to do is bring up a folded edge. So if I fold this edge as I'm cutting, I'm banging away on the board, it's going to lift that edge back straight again and extend the time between sharpening. So every time you use a knife out of your butcher block, always butcher steel it first. Always steel it first, or steel it after you wash it before you put it back in. This will keep your knives sharp a lot longer. When this doesn't work, then you want to go to an abrasive like our sharpener. But as long as this works, why sharpen it, right? It's sharp. But I like to use it after I sharpen because it takes off any remaining burr that's on there left over from the sharpening process, and it makes sure that edge is nice and burnished. Does a great job. Now, it's the same thing on a butcher steel that it is on a sharpening stone. We're going to go this way and this way at the same time at about 15 degrees. Now, again, you're not a machine. So don't get all tied up in angles. You don't need to. It'll all come out in the wash. Everything will be fine. Give it a few runs. You'll be good. Put that back in your block. I'm just going to lay it down here for now. Everything should happen almost effortlessly, right? You should be able to just run it through and have it cut so effortlessly. It should be easy. You know, and celery is fun to cut. I like to do a chop cut on celery. But I just tried one of these out here. This is a mushroom, just as baby bella. And the baby bellas are great because if this is dull, it'll slide right off of it. But you should be able to just push it right down through the baby bella and it should cut really nicely. I mean, it should be effortless, right? It makes me crazy sometimes. People come in and they say, sharpen my knife, but don't make it too sharp. No, no, make it too sharp. Make it sharp as all heck as long as it's gonna hold the edge. If we have a knife that's a really bad quality steel, and we know what's good and what's not, if it's a really poor quality steel, we're gonna make that angle a little higher, and it's not gonna be as sharp. We're gonna make the angle higher because we know it's not gonna hold an edge for very long, and we want it to hold an edge for you for as long as we possibly can. We don't want you to have to come in and see us every week, right? So we'll bring that angle up a little more. If we've got a nice knife like a Wusthof that can be maintained really well with a butcher steel for a long time, we're gonna bring that angle back to about 15 degrees, bring it back down so it's gonna be sharper so you can do things like this with it. You know, I'm in the process of making a stew, so I need to cut all this stuff up, but look how easy this is. You can just come through here, get the rest of this. And boy, I tell you, it's just as easy as can be. Now, I'm not a chef, so I'm not even pretending to be a chef. I'm just a guy who likes to cook, and I like to have a sharp knife when I cook. So if you want a sharp knife as well, don't be afraid to get a stone. It doesn't have to be expensive. $20, $30 can buy you a really nice sharpening stone. And try your hand at sharpening. If you have trouble, we're here to help you if you need help. There are a lot of options when it comes to stones or sharpening systems, and you don't have to get anything really expensive. We have that too. If you want an expensive sharpener, we've got them. If you want a belt sharpener like what we use in the store, where you can pull it through and it sharpens up in a heartbeat, you can get one of those from us. We're happy to sell you that as well. But you don't necessarily have to have it. And there's something about sharpening on a stone that's just really satisfying. So take a look at this. get yourself a sharpening stone if you don't already have one, and sharpen your own knives and see how it goes. If we can help, that's what we're there for. Meanwhile, I'm going to make my stew. So until next time, see ya.